Hey family, thank you for tuning into Our Roots podcast with Joseph Baba Ifa. We're only the strongest roots see the light, brought to you by Botanica Candles and more. And if you haven't had the opportunity, tap on that subscribe button, tap on that like button, and be sure to comment that you're here for the live Q&A on everything Ifa, Santeria, and Lukumi. Quick recap about last week, guys. Everything went wonderfully. We were able to get a real response off of the Letter of the Year video. And then apart from that, on such short notice, a huge amount of viewership. So we're definitely going to be doing these more and more. And another thing that we're going to be incorporating soon, based on the response, is a membership-only program where you're going to be able to have access to really exclusive material, have us focus on the themes and topics that you want us to be able to give you everything you need to be the best Ifa and Orisha practitioner you could be. If you hear a silky voice during the live Q&A, it's from Mr. Phil, the podcast doctor.
That's my silky voice, really?
Yes, sir. And, Phil has been wonderful with us. He's here administrating the boards behind us. It's quite a setup. And if you're looking for podcast needs as well, he's definitely the guy you want to look into.
Yes. Thank you, man.
Absolutely.
So it appears that YouTube has decided we're so busy, they're not going to put the comments on my screen. But I'm looking at the screen, the live screen here, so I'll read you the questions, okay?
Awesome, brother.
All right, so let's see what we got here. Everyone's just saying their welcomes. We got 50 people in here right now.
Oh, kicking it off strong. Thank you guys so much for being here.
All right, so actually I have a question for you. Can you explain to people who don't know what Ifa is? Because I didn't know really what it was. So if you can give, like a quick breakdown of what Ifa is while we let some of these questions come in.
Absolutely. So what is Ifa? Ifa is an oracular system, spirituality from West Africa, specifically Nigeria, in a part known as Yoruba land, wherever you can find the Yoruba speaking people and clans of that country. And basically it's recognized as one of the oldest philosophical systems, oracular systems, especially by UNESCO. It's been regarded as one of the inalienable, basically, arts of humanity. And some people say it's even it's older than that. So that's basically Ifa in a nutshell. And it's really manipulated and, practiced by us, the Babalawos, the high priests, or Olorishas, or the high priest of Orisha. And, ultimately by way of, unfortunately, the diasporic slave trade, or inter-Atlantic slave trade, it made its way to Cuba and ultimately the world.
So how did you actually get started in Ifa?
Well, once again, I'm from a little place known as Hialeah. And Hialeah is per capita the highest demographic of Cuban-American people in this country. My family's originally from New York. They settled there first and then made their way down to Miami when things were getting a little sticky. Mm-hmm. And, we settled in a place that seemed most comfortable to us because, my grandmother was Cuban. So, and I had a bunch of, uncles, cousins, and aunts come over in 1980, which was known as the Mariel Boat Lift. The movie Scarface was based off of it. And it was basically a living culture. It's something that you'd see every day. You'd walk outside, you'd see somebody mounted with a spirit, or somebody would be doing an Ifa down the street, or you'd see a rooster being sacrificed on the corner, pretty openly. So ultimately the way I got into it or exposed to it was just being there. I had an aunt that actually was initiated in Yamaya like 50 years ago. And, began seeing the culture that way and asking questions as to why we did things that other families didn't, whether it was offering a pumpkin in front of La Caridad de Cobre or getting smacked with a piece of meat on December 31st, to bring in the year with prosperity. So I began to realize we were a little different than, most of the families that would go to church. We were also similar to some. And then it sparked my interest where I made the decision I wanted to formally get involved with things such as priesthood.
Okay, so I'm going to try an experiment. I've never tried this before, okay?
Nice.
I'm going to take the screen from my laptop and merge it with the stream.
Okay.
So let's see how that looks.
Say our prayers.
Can you read that from here or no?
It's a little bit far. Luckily, I don't have to take the driving test again.
Okay, so, all right. So, Baba, I have a question. What's the purpose of the 9 pieces of obi with pepper and palm oil, meaning for the Agun, or is it okay to place this as my Agun shrine, as I am an Orisha?
Absolutely. And who gave that question so I can thank them?
King Max.
Mr. King Max, thank you so much for taking the time to watch and ask the question. And it's definitely a complex one that we can get into. So to be able to actually create an Egungun shrine, coherently, we need to have Hand of Ifa first. Why is this? Because our ancestors are based on our Odu of Ifa, which is revealed in your Hand of Ifa process. So like for example, my Odu is Irete Suka or Irete Otura. My ancestry is based on my Odu. So to be able to consecrate a gungung, which is done by the Babalawos, we need that Odu to be able to consecrate it, coherently, because there's verses in each sign that have to be present to be able to consecrate it. So what happened when we talk about the Egungun shrine? The star icon is the Egungun icon, or Isang Egungun, which is 9 pieces of atori stick, 3 feathers known as Aluko, Abe, and Ikode, and it's wrapped in red cloth, being that Egungun and Shango had so much to do with each other in the Odu of Okanameji, and basically that's the star of the shrine. But the reason we in the New World put the 9 coconuts next to the tile is because that stick didn't make it over, and they were only giving Egungun and the Pashanes, as they're known, to the Babalawos, who really dominated that cult. At this point now, we're seeing now that Egungun is resurfacing for all practitioners. Actually, I was up yesterday till 4:30 in the morning consecrating one for one of my for one of my beloved godchildren, who I love very much, and I made sure he knew that because I got home very late. You know what I'm saying? But if you really want to have a coherent Egungun shrine, you have to start with Hand of Ifa, and then usually what I recommend right after Hand of Ifa, being that we use Egungun in every ceremony, receive your Egungun, and then at that point you could offer whatever you like.
Okay, I'm going to put it back on the screen here.
Yes,
see
sir.
If it's a little bit bigger. Can you read that, or is that too small still?
Okay, so we just got through with King Max.
Yeah.
Which one are we looking at now?
Jonathan?
Irish?
Yeah.
Iboru, Iboye, Ibocheche, Bendición. I can see kind of to the...
It says, as an Omo Oya, how can I keep a cool head often? Will you be doing a podcast around Oya?
Awesome. Well, John, thank you so much for watching and your support. Ironically, we've already recorded the Oya episode with my goddaughter, Eden, who owns a metaphysical shop heading towards Tampa. She has a PhD in theology from Harvard. So we definitely were able to delve into Oya and a bunch of different things about her, with her being that she, received her Hand of Ifa within our Ilayer home. How can you keep a cool head? It's hard for you guys. The children of Oya by nature, we're talking about electricity, lightning, fire. Oya, unfortunately, was an Orisha that was a little misunderstood because she kind of did her own thing, and, people kind of rubbed her the wrong way, and she rubbed some people the wrong way. The best way to keep a cool head is by focusing on your Ori and really stimulating the positive aspects of your guardian Orisha. So when we're talking about Oya, maintaining that calm, delving more into the river, like water energy that she represents, the red palm oil that she's such a fan of, and just take it with ease. Because if we, explode on everybody we see or stimulate ourselves that way, we're not going to get very far. And Oyad really doesn't like her children delving into that behavior.
Okay, I'm going to make it full screen. All
nice.
right. So,
nice.
all right, tell me if you can read that now. Is that better?
Absolutely. Next question, Robert Massey. Hey, Rob, thank you so much for watching. Question: if you start an Espiritismo Cariocha, is Ifa a natural progression? Well, Rob, thank you so much. Wonderful, wonderful question. Really, the progression is by way of Ifa, right? So let's say you didn't start off with your Hand of Ifa and you delved into more of an Orisha-centric home. Ultimately, everyone on earth needs to receive Hand of Ifa, right? So, even though you've gone through your spiritism and even though you've gone through your Orisha process, Orumila is waiting for you. And it's very important because, ultimately we can't get the full fruits out of our Orisha ceremony or out of the connection with our spirits without Orumila. Because Orumila is known as Aboni Regun, the king of Egun, the king of the spirit world. When we talk about Ifa, Orumila, and Egun were inseparable, so that's very key. And when we talk about Orisha, really no Orisha can be consecrated without the presence of a Babalawo or Orumila by way of Odu Ifa. So it is a natural progression. If you haven't had the chance, Orula is definitely waiting for you, and he's going to give you great results.
Okay, all right. Here we go. Back to the list.
John Irish also. Okay, we went over that. I'm not seeing anything. Ifatola, which one are we going to here?
We got a paradox.
Awesome.
What are we able to learn once we have Kofa, Igun, sticks, and warriors, but haven't done Ocha yet? Asking since I was told by an elder that they couldn't teach me much after being told I'm not crowned.
Awesome. So,
And that was from Paradox.
Awesome. Paradox, thank you for that question, right? So, kofa. Once you have your kofa urumila, the word ikofa means ikofa, which means I learn Ifa. And this is the title given to the Apetebi after her hand of Ifa process, because at that point, the woman has the right to learn all about Ifa within her practice. What does that mean? The Apetebi has the right to learn how to serve the table, the nuances that go with it, all of the preparation of the ceremonial food and meats, what are the taboos, what aren't. She has the right to learn about the orisha she's received, how to take care of them. Apart from that, she has the right to learn everything within her sign that is not Ifa specific, because we have certain odufa that speak of ceremonies within, our room or the orisha room or forbidden rooms. No matter how incoherent the text may seem, you should not delve into that aspect. And that's why you need an elder to really sift through that information and provide you with what you can learn at will, so that you're not worried about, am I learning the right thing or not? So that's what you're able to learn. Egung as well. You can learn how to attend the Egung, your orishas within that context.
Jenny asked a really good question here. She says, "Hi, Padrino, why is Ifa so demonized? Some people freak out when they notice my bracelet."
Jenny, what's up? Bendición. Why is Ifa so demonized? Because I think we demonize things that we don't understand or that we fear. When we talk about anything that is not Abrahamic in origin, Judaism, Islam, Christianity, any of the more popular mainstream faiths that people are usually indoctrinated into, anything foreign to that immediately seems taboo. So I don't blame anybody for, being afraid of the demonization that Ifa has experienced. I'm more, how do I say this? I'm more at a loss for words for the people who demonize it, because at the end of the day, spirituality, for it to be a religion, love has to be present. So there has to be something positive somewhere. And when somebody chooses to ignore that rather than delve into it, find out more about it, that's when, you have to kind of analyze what's their motive.
Okay, it looks like we skipped their questions. It says, what does slave to Orisha mean? This is from Ifatola.
Okay, to Ifatola. So awesome. To be a slave is an interesting concept within Ifa, because they say it is better to be the slave of Orumila than the king of man. And what that means is when you become Babalawo, you become Orumila's slave. And most guys, when they come out of the garden, they don't really understand what that means. But when you study and when you prepare yourself, you become a slave to Ifa. And what I mean by that is you begin to have clientele, you begin to have people seeking your services, your knowledge, your presence, and you become a slave to Orumila, where you really have to, at that point, begin to organize yourself, become a little more professional so that you can have a work-life balance. Like I said, I was up at 4:30 in the morning last night, but today I spent my whole day with my family. We went to the bakery, I had a cannoli. You have to have that balance, but that's what it means to be a slave of Ifa and Orisha, because if you're not careful, you get sucked into this practice and this is what you'll be doing. So you need to have that balance and make sure you're taking care of yourself so you don't get lost in the sauce.
All right, I asked everybody to say where they're from. We got a couple of comments from North Carolina. 2 people from North Carolina there.
Oh, man, I'm really happy about the North Carolina people. Thank you so much, because the gentleman that we're going to be interviewing, Mr. Rafiq Pringle, is from Wilmington, and you guys have been asking a lot about the Ogun episode and whatnot. Rafiq, can you hear me? Can you come over here so people can see your beautiful face?
We got a special guest.
Yeah, Mr. Rafiq Pringle, Omo Ogun, my godson.
He's got to bend down.
Oh my God, just a little bit, just so you can get a sneak peek.
Where we at?
Little bit closer. Oh
Okay,
my
where
God,
we at?
Big Feek. This is the guy we're talking about Ogun with. Ogun in person. Look at that, beautiful. Oh man, that guy can carry a piece of iron, right? Jesus, God, it's a lot, man. Yeah, the safest place in the world is in his arms, yo. Walk through a parking garage with him, you'll make it out, yo. Love you. Yeah, we're gonna be interviewing Feek soon, but shout out to all my North Carolina people. We appreciate you. Shout out to Wilmington. So.
All right, here we
Awesome.
go. New Jersey, Charlotte, Atlanta, New Orleans, Atlanta, New Jersey,
Thank
South
you guys
Carolina.
so much. That's beautiful, man.
All right, we got a question here. Can you read this question from Javi?
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Javi or Javi, can I make my Eleguan warriors and tend to them and gather materials if I'm scratched already and tell me to ball out or tata? Or do I use a coconut? Love you, bro. Thank you for your time. Javi, nothing but love for you. From what I understand, you're scratched in palo, right? So that gives you real autonomy within palo. So I'm not a palero personally. I'm surrounded by a lot of great ones, but I don't know how to perfectly respond to that because I don't know what your possibilities are as an Ngeo. So I'm not sure, but definitely you could work with your things at Freedom. Definitely to be able to interact with the warriors and whatnot, you definitely need to find a babalawo. In the meantime, being that you don't have a house, I can give you a little bit of advice there. The coconut never hurt, right? That was born in the Odu Baradila, where the person, and also in the Odu Irete Kedda or Irete Kutang, that the coconut can go in place of Elegua. But you don't want to have it there for more, than a year. And within that year, you want to really be working towards receiving your things coherently because the coconut doesn't have the same, capacity as the rock or the cement head does. So thank you so much for watching, Javi.
All right, so we skipped one earlier. I want to go back to this one.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see from High Dollar Honey? I got my hand.
Hi, Dollar. I got my hand, was about to join an Ile. That Babalawo was exposed for some unethical dealings. My question is how to find a good godparent and Ile. So I'm sorry you went through that experience. Unfortunately, things like that are becoming more common, but there's still good people out there such as ourselves. I have a couple videos on the challenge, on the channel, how to find a good godparent. I did a podcast with my wife, Poroye, about godparents, mentors, elders, and guides. I recommend that. You want to put people in a position to fail. You want to see how they act when maybe you don't have a dollar, when maybe you don't have, certain conditions to be able to help yourself. It's not that anybody has to give anybody anything for free, but, there has to be some compassion and empathy there, especially when someone can see the efforts, So apart from that, everything has to be completely ethical. Apart from being a spiritual relationship, this is a platonic relationship within the Lukumi at least. So, Ifa says you have to hold them to those same standards as you would a doctor, as you would a lawyer, as you would a whatever, any professional that you're contracting. There is that business aspect where we're here to work, not play.
People are commenting on Feek. They're saying he's definitely a no-gun.
Oh, man, yeah, they marked him right. Definitely, yo.
Here's one from Jers Swisher. I begins my Iwayo near next week. My Odu, I can't read all these.
My Odu is Obeyono, and I'm crowning Obadala. Is there any advice you can offer? First and foremost, congratulations on crowning Jers. Thank you for watching. You're making the right step because when we talk about the Odu Obeyono, a little gesture that's done with that sign is mentioned. I seem to be surrounded by this Odu. I know it very well. Batala there was the constructor of heads. His name was Ajala or Ijala. So you're going to see a lot of parallels within your ceremony and your Odu if you've had the pleasure of studying it. But I would say there the son of Batala definitely has to crown and kind of see what his next steps are because Obe Ogunda has a natural predisposition towards Ifa because in that sign, Obadala gave Orumila the right to mount and create the heads. So the Elegua heads, all of the different cement structures, etc. So definitely enjoy your Orisha process, but at the same time, figure out what you want to do because Obeyono has a lot of talent and what they need is direction. So you'll be fine. Definitely get close to somebody competent and you'll be all right. So congratulations on that destiny. It's a beautiful Odu.
All right, here we go here from Laha Rocks. It was recommended to receive Elekes and warriors. Would the person that guide me through the process be my godparent, or do I still need to find one after?
So the thing is within the Lukumi tradition, everybody doesn't do everything. So what does that mean? The person.
Hold on. We got 105 people watching right now. I had to interrupt. So we gotta have a clap there.
Guys, thank you so much. Yo.
Thank you everyone
golf clap,
for
golf
watching.
clap.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Thank you so much. You guys humble me, man. I never expected any of this. Thank you so much. Orumila is great. Ifan Odisha is great. We were talking as far as finding godparents after the necklaces and the warriors. So your godparent of the necklaces might not be your godparent who gives you the hand of Ifa. So what does that mean? You're going to need to go to different people for different things. Ideally, you receive your hand of Ifa, which is including your warriors. And then at that point, in our tradition in the Lukumi, the Babalawo does not crown Orisha like they do in Isheshe. So you need elders of Orisha. You need an elder and an Ojubona of Orisha. Once you have those things, then you start delving into the Ilekes, because the Ilekes are supposed to be received when you initiate into Orisha. They're consecrated there coherently. So at that point, you'd have your elders of Ifa, your Oluo, and your ojubona, and then you have your elders of Orisha, your madrina or padrino, and your ojubona, and ideally they work in harmony to be able to give you that crown and help you go to wherever it is you're meant to go based on your destiny.
Now, I do want to apologize for reading some of these incorrectly.
No, it's a language, man. It took me. I don't speak Yoruba fluently. I speak enough to be productive, and I'm still learning it. I'm recognizing it more now, but the accents and the beauty of the tonality, it takes a lifetime when you're not a native speaker, so you're fine.
All right, so we got one more here from Richard Massey. Can you read that, the highlighted? Or
Absolutely, Rich. Here we go. Question: I've been marked as Obadala, and I have my warriors, but planning to get my hand in October. And then if bless Cariocha this winter. Does that sound like a good plan? The most ideal thing is Orumila is the one who identifies the guardian Orisha, right? So as long as Orumila has identified your guardian Orisha, so you get a definite and absolute answer within the Lukumi tradition, sounds like a fabulous plan, right? But you want to make sure that Orumila has identified everything so that when we take you into that room, there's no mishaps, because in the Odu Osarosum, it was identified that the Babalawo within the Lukumi tradition is the one that identifies who you're meant to be crowned. And the Odu Oturasa, it speaks of when the lizard wanted to be crowned Shango, even though he was a son of Obatala in actuality, and he died during the ceremony. So Ifa says we have to be very careful and make sure we're going through the proper channels so that everybody has their input and we have a successful ceremony for the client and Ihado.
All right, so a lot of questions are coming here. Let's go to Donna. Can you read Donna, Moon Goddess?
Donna, Moon Goddess. Donna, thank you so much. Greetings. My personal Odu is the same as the letter of the year, Otura Ira or Otura Ogunda. Do I need to do anything more from this than I already have? Is it extra for me? You did my abo already. Thank you. Donna, no. It is a beautiful coincidence. It's just your year, so take to heart all of the things that were said in the reading and said in the live and, make the most out of it, and things are going to go wonderfully.
Okay, here we go. Let's go to Shine, Baby Shine.
Shine, Baby Shine. Is there a difference between initiating into Ifa versus being marked by an Orisha? So that's a wonderful question, by the way, Shine, and thank you so much for watching. The whole religion is called Ifa. Everything is under the umbrella of Ifa. Now, when you receive Ifa, in the hand of Ifa context, not initiating as Babalawo, at that point we identify who your guardian Orisha is within the Lukumi tradition, right? So at that point you get marked by an Orisha, but you're always a child of Ifa because you practice Ifa. But within Ifa, there's a department known as Orisha that is more Orisha-centric, which means either you're a shell thrower or you're initiating people into Orisha or you're possibly coming into trance, which is very different from the priesthood of Ifa, which is more studious, philosophical, and we focus a lot more on Orumila and initiating Bawalaos and people into the hand of Ifa process and any of the deities that are within our domain.
And guys, don't forget, if you are watching, make sure you take a second, hit that, smash that like button, because
smash the like button, disrupt the algorithm, exit the matrix. Don't let them tell you who to be. Be you.
Exactly.
Definitely.
All right, let's get the question that was directly under hers. It's from Omiyoko.
Oh, that's a beautiful name. It means water sits. Bendición Baba Iborui Boya. Can you talk about Ofun Irete? Oh, wow. I tell you, this one makes me a little emotional because one of my teachers, man, and one of my most beloved friends and people on earth, his name is Lazarito Ofunbile, Ifafi Bimbi. And he is one of my teachers. He's my brother. He was an inspiration. And, the one thing about Ofunbile that happens from time to time is solitude. Ofunbile has to be very careful with loneliness because you could be surrounded by 100 people and feel completely alone because the word Ofunbile means Ofun has a house. And what happened in Ofunbile was lonely. He performed Ebo, and after that, people started visiting him. Specifically, other Bawalaos, Orisha priests, initiations were taking place. And I tell you, Lazarito, at this moment, I think he's a year or two younger than me. Lazarito may have initiated already close to 400 people in the hand of Ifa process. And, every time I would go and direct a plante in Lazaro's house, it was 8 people. So ultimately, Ofunbile, or Ofunalaje, as it's known, says that the person has to be a practitioner of Orisha. They may end up just living off of their spiritual practice because it's just so high volume, right? So congratulations to you and shout out to Lazaro.
All right, we got a question from Trinarican Goddess.
Oh, I think that's my goddaughter. Oh, yeah. Borui Boya, Padrino. Yeah, of course. What's going on, Mihala? What's one of your favorite Ifa stories that explains why an animal does what it does? Probably hard to pick one. Oh, gosh, right? Why animals do what they do? Let's think of an animal. Well, I'll go into my own sign, Irete Suga, right? In Irete Suga, it speaks of why the elephant listens more than it speaks. And this Odu was where the elephant was born without ears, but it had its long trunk. So every time it would go by, it would just make noise, and people would get scared of it and run away, right? He went for divination, Orumila performed it, and Ifa said he needed to perform sacrifice with the malanga leaf, or the elephant ear plant, right? The plants were attached to the elephant's head, and the elephant was able to listen to his surroundings and understand what was going on. So therefore, he was able to respond at opportune moments and then know when not to respond. Because Irete Suga says we have 2 ears and 1 mouth because we're meant to listen twice as much as we are speak. So my Odu says I'm able to speak when I'm spoken to. So like in a context like this where people are asking me information, I'm able to respond. But Ifa says the elephant and Ifa are synonymous because when it's silent, people admire it and it's majestic, but when it runs or when it makes noise, people get scared. So that's a perfect example right there why the elephant doesn't make a lot of noise, and you won't even hear an elephant and it'll creep up on you in Africa.
All right, here we go from Amal Allen. Any information on Children of Two Waters?
Oh, absolutely. Amal, thank you so much. This is a really great topic because I think there's a lot of confusion on it. You know what I'm saying? Because people say, no, soy hijo de las dos aguas. I'm a child of the 2 waters. Okay, what does that mean? That applies to one person and one person only in this whole religion. And that's the person who in their hand of Ifa, or as a babalawo, has the Odu Odi She, right? What happened there is Oshun was very poor. Right. And, she was looking for a way to better herself and grow because she felt like she wasn't meant for poverty. She went to visit
because I just reset the stream. So people are saying that it froze. So give it some seconds here. Oh, people are sad.
Oh, no. Yeah.
But it's saying that we're back. So give it some
awesome.
time.
Awesome. Yeah. So going back to the Odiche story and the Dos Aguas, it's a concept that you see a lot of. You have to have Yemaya and Ochung on the same pedestal. It really depends how you interpret the shell because, Ifa says that the shell is a singular letter. So 7-5 technically doesn't exist because the second throw belongs to the Oriate. It's somewhat superfluous because Igbo has not been distributed yet. So it's just a random throw to be able to amplify Ita, which, at this moment really might not be necessary because there is so much information on the Dilogun and it makes it somewhat unnecessary.
Hang on. It's saying that we're on, but give me a second.
Yeah, take your time.
Let me see what is going on here with YouTube. Okay, there we go. They're saying it's back. So let's say hi to everybody again.
Hey, everybody. I guess we're back, right? We froze a little bit. We
had me worried for a second.
Oh, man, this is what happens when you go live. This is raw and uncut. So we just went over the question about the Dos Aguas. Want to make sure, if by chance the person that asked it didn't get the full response, let us know and I can delve back in. But we can definitely delve into other questions if they're flowing in.
Yes. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. This one from DSMG Mali.
DSMG, Aburua Boye, Obuato, DSMG. Baba, what all am I capable of doing spiritually from receiving Isefa? So the Isefa, the hand of Ifa, you're able to study your Odu at freedom, as long as it doesn't delve into ceremonial rites you haven't gone through yet. You're able to attend to your Orishas. You're able to learn the processes within the hand of Ifa processes from the hand of Ifa standpoint, or Owofakang. So you can learn how to process the meat. You can learn the nuances. You can't go in the room when the Babalaos are in there. So I always tell people, whether you're meant to move forward or not, depending on what your desires are. If you're content with just learning that, you stay as a hand of Ifa and you can lead a very fulfilling life focusing on other things. But if you want to know more, you have to start getting with your elders so they can start orienting you on how to get to those next steps. Because I notice with men, when they have their hand of Ifa, but they're like, Baba, I have all these questions, and they're Babalao questions, I'm like, you need to start getting ready to go into the garden. You know what I'm saying? So you want to get with your elders there, let them know what your goals are, and see how they can facilitate them.
People are saying it was Mercury retrograde. That's why.
Oh, man, the planets, you know.
All right, here we go. From Chrissy Clark.
Hi, Chrissy, thank you so much. Can we explain the presentation after you find out who crowns your head? I'm not crowned yet, but I was told that it can be done beforehand or when I get to my crowning ceremony. The presentation after you find out who crowns your head. So just to try and understand the question, I mean, you know, the basic response is once you have your hand of Ifa, you find out who your guardian Orisha is. Once you find out your guardian Orisha, you make sure you do your ebo from your hand of Ifa to be able to move forward. You know, in our specific case, we want the people initiating with us to have their Egungun icon, and then just start planning for Orisha. So at that point, as far as presentation, you might be referring to the drums. That's done during your initiation ceremony. So, and it's a public event. So if you're referring to any of those things, that would be the ideal order.
Okay. All right. Hold on, let me scroll through because a lot of people were talking about it freezing. So here we go.
Sure.
Heavy hands.
Lord. Yeah, heavy hands. Thank you. Question. My Ifa sign is Otura Ira. Nice. My question is, why do secrets exist in Ifa? Meaning, why am I not allowed to know everything about my sign until I initiate into Ifa, right? So there's certain odus. Great question, because, you know, it's not that people are bothered about not being able to learn certain things. It's just they want to know why, right? So what happens is, in the Odu of Otura Irete, or Otura Tiyu, Shango became the guardian of the secrets of Ifa, where he said anybody that's not initiated in a certain deity or process can't learn about it, right? And he curses them when they try to learn it. So you're going to lose a couple of things if you delve into Ifa information that's not meant for you at that moment. One of them is your family, right? You know, it says that it can cause matrimonial problems, distancing with children. It could even cause people to lose their mental and emotional stability, because the problem is you're delving into information that you really can't talk about with anybody because nobody's going to want to talk about it with you. Like, for example, if someone comes up to me and tries to discuss Ifa with me, you know, immediately, you know, I'm trying to understand, are you a Bawalao? Because I have to be careful because I have an oath, you know, to die for what I've seen, to die for what I know. So, you know, if not, then the conversation, you know, is going to be politely cut short because there's really not much to talk about other than things from a hand of Ifa standpoint. But I will say, Otura Ira is a beautiful sign. Otura Ira, as long as they have all the conditions that are necessary, has a very easy path to Ifa, because in that sign was where the tray of Ifa was born. It's known as the Alaiku, or the owner of death. So if you're interested in the secrets of Ifa and Bawalawu, you know, Otura Ogunda doesn't have an issue. And this may be the year for you to do it because it's the letter of the year, and in that sign was where Ogun did Ifa. So more motivation.
All right, looks like Jenny got another question here.
Can you go into more info about Ofunkosu? Ofunkosu is an Odu where the person has to really be resilient. The person cannot allow themselves to fall short, because this is the Odu of the cotton. And the problem is every time the flame would come around, the cotton would get burnt up and, you know, literally, you know, incinerate. So it says there that the child of Obadala has to be more resilient. What does that mean? We lose our job, we find another one. We lose a relationship, we find another one. We don't accomplish our goals, we start again. The person cannot delve into anything emotionally about their failures because it's usually a test from their own head or guardian Orisha to be able to see whether they deserve that triumph or not. And Eshu kind of wreaks havoc in that sign if the person is soft. So Ifa says that the person has to build resilience, become less emotional, and within that Odu, they'll find lots of success.
Okay. All right. Let me scroll down here. Okay. So matches.
Hi, Baba. What are you able to do with your Eshu you receive from your hand of Ifa? How should you talk to him? Can you do any works with him? Matches, great question. You can attend to him. You know, how do you talk to him? You talk to him like you talk to, you know, your dad or your brother or your father. The Orishas are not meant to be feared. They're meant to be respected, but, you know, as long as we're not walking around in the nude in front of them and we're not just, you know, screaming belligerencies, you know, they pretty much understand everything. So speak to him, keep it real with them. You know what I'm saying? Because there's conversations I've had with my Elegua that, it sounds like, you'd think I'm talking to somebody. You can do works with him, but you're unable to sacrifice to him. So you can't give him a rooster or anything like that. So other than that, it's pretty free game under your elder's supervision and mentorship.
Okay, we got one from Sunshine right under that one.
Sunshine, thank you so much. This religion involves a lot of studying. Can you tell us about your study habits? Oh, man. Fabulous question. Thank you so much. Somebody that wants to know about the boring stuff, right? Leaving high school, I actually have a predisposition to being horrible at math. So when they put me in remedial algebra with all the misfits at Miami-Dade College on Killian, they sent me to a study habits course, right? So they taught us a bunch of methods and things like that. I still hated college and school. I loved academics and learning, and I ultimately dropped out. I flunked out because I was so focused on Ifa. I wanted to be a Babalao so bad, and I wanted to take it to another level, and I knew it was going to be a lot of work. So when I started rolling with my godfather, when I did Ifa, I realized it was going to take a lot of studying. And it's really intimidating when you first go in, because when you see your godfather do Ebo the first time, or you work your first Ifa, you're kind of like, man, am I ever going to learn this? But my study habits, when I was going through my first year in Ifa, I was very blessed because I was unemployed and my mother supported me, and my grandmother. So, shout out to them. I would study 8 hours a day. So I would say, whatever Ifa work comes in, I'll get it right. I'll give the money to, my parents ultimately, and, I'll study the rest of the day. So I would wake up early. I'd have breakfast. I'd be in my room. I'd study 4 hours. I'd do 45 minutes intense, 15-minute break for a 4-hour period. Then I'd take a lunch break. I'd sit down and eat with my grandmother for a good 30 to 45 minutes. Then that would be around 4 o'clock. And then I'd start up again, same process until about 8 p.m., and then I'd just wind down for the rest of the day. And I actually did that for a year straight. But the big thing with me was learning things little by little. So I would take like these huge prayers and I'd break them down into 1 or 2 increments. And then throughout the day, I'd see if I remembered those 1 to 2 words. And if I did, I'd move on to the next section. If I did not, I'd have to learn it again. And there's certain prayers, like the one from Otura Ira or Ogunda Tetura. Some of them took me 3-4 days to learn, and that was me driving myself crazy, repeating and repeating. So now my study, being that I have the fundamentals down, I'm really more focused on certain aspects of it, because once you dominate the concepts, it allows you to learn much bigger things without being that intense. But, in the beginning, my family thought I was going to lose my mind. The other day I'm learning a new prayer. My wife hears me just saying over and over again, if you want to get into this, it takes that kind of obsession sometimes, and it could seem as if you're losing your mind.
Oh, no.
For real.
All right, we got a question from Michael Jones.
Mike Jones, what about the 7 African powers? Okay, a little bit of water.
But props to everybody. We got 105.
That's awesome. It's been very consistent. Oh, man, the nice little kazoo. You need a good kazoo, yo. But
105 right now.
So the 7 African powers is a concept that's a little bit confusing, because when it made it to New York, it became a candle with the 7 Orishas and Olofing. But in reality, the 7 African powers are in a couple different Odus. It's in the Odu Edibere, and it's also briefly spoken about in the Odu of Ofun Iworigando. So the 7 African powers represent the 7 strongest tribes in Africa, right, that had to unify against the oppression of the missionaries and the slave traders who were basically trying to capture them, right? Because at one point, Africa was just in complete war and disunity, but when they had the common, enemy of the slave trader, they're like, we need to get together and, defend ourselves, kind of like a Wakanda United type thing. You know what I'm saying? So it speaks of that. It also speaks of 7 major Egun that came from heaven, that their names are far too complicated to recall now. I actually have a goddaughter that's at Dibere that I sent her this information. And apart from that, it speaks of, just the 7 tribes. That's why when you look at the necklace, it has the 7 different colors and whatnot. It represents the different tribes, whether it's the Awakwas, whether it was the Yorubas, whether it was the Bantus, whether it was the Mandingas, all of these different people. It represents all of them.
All right, we got a lot of questions just came in really, really fast here.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so let's go with Shine, Baby Shine one more time.
Shine, baby, shine. How does one start the process of becoming an Ifa devotee? How long is the entire initiation process leading up to initiation? Thank you. Thank you, Shine Baby. How does one start the process? Find a good elder. At that point, when you found somebody you trust, the next step is your hand of Ifa. The hand of Ifa is a 3-day process at the cost that they provide. And that at that point, you're initiated into Ifa and you're a devotee. Now, if you want to enter into Orisha priesthood, at that point, that's a 7-day initiation. If you're eligible for Babalawo male initiation, that's another 7 days. So it's really streamlined when you find the right people. Here's your hand of Ifa cost. This is what you need to have. And at that point, we're setting dates and taking you into the room.
All right, there was one. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. It was one that it's a good thing that even I would want to know.
Awesome.
It's from Dwayne Washington.
Dwayne, thank you so much. Thank you, Baba. Can you please comment on my sign, Obara Altura? The videos on YouTube are all in Spanish. I only speak English. Obara Altura. Ogumbende opopo adifafun obadala obara kushio. I know your Odu very well because the first man I ever initiated into Ifa as a Babalawo, he came with your sign, right? Depending on your guardian Orisha, Obara Altura can be a very ideal sign. The biggest thing with Obara Altura is, just to kind of throw a pataki out there, it's where Ori first started receiving offerings, right? So it says that the person has to go through their initiation processes. Obara Altura has no issue after their hand of Ifa, either initiating into Orisha or as Babalawo, depending on if it applies. It's just a matter of identifying what you want and separating what it is that you feel versus what's real. Because the problem with Obara Altura is their spiritual disalignment leads them to emotional disarray, and then they get confused, and sometimes they get tired of the religion and just walk away, right? This is also the Odu where Obaluaye first came down from heaven. It's his Isaraye within the Lukumi tradition. The person should bathe with watermelon juice, right? Ogun there was always stressed out, and he would put the watermelon on to kind of relax, and he would drink it because of his vitamin deficiencies. So just a couple quick notes, but get with a good elder or get with your elder to be able to clarify things, to see what your next steps are. Because Obara Altura, ideally, if they can, they should not stay with that sign for a lifetime.
Okay, I'm going to put it on the screen here. Which one would you... There's a lot of...
Let me see what we got here. I got, okay, we got one on Altura Rico. There's enough time. Irete Untedi. Oh, a lot of Odu questions. How do we qualify for the Hand of Ifa? Quick answer there. Everybody's eligible for Hand of Ifa as long as you're you can put the screen back up. Okay. Just a quick answer. Everybody's eligible for Hand of Ifa if you're a moral, upstanding individual within your community. Everybody needs it. Everybody should have it. Thank you, Baba. Obara Altura. Okay. Obara, my husband is Ogunda Masa. And I'm Osa. Oh, we got a lot. Gosh, go back up a little bit because I'd like to talk about Otura. That one right there from Nadia. Nadia VA. Okay. Hi, Nadia. I am Otura Rico. Do you have any advice for me on this sign? I am not sure who I can discuss this with. This religion seems to have a lot of lines. Do you have any good books that you recommend? Well, the books I recommend first and foremost are going to be on Baba Solabade Popola's website, ifalinks.com. I don't, at this moment, I'm not writing a book. It may happen. But in the meantime, Baba has excellent literature that I've even learned from. And frankly, every Babalao has read some form of Baba's literature. So ifalinks.com, you'll find some good stuff and what you need. As far as Otura Rico, I wanted to touch on this because it is an Odu of the Year for the Folkloric Cultural Association in Cuba. Otura Rico, when we translate the name, means Otura Orico, or Otura bashes his head against the wall. Ifa says here that the person has to get with elders or people who are going to be able to orient them. Because Otura Rico tries to learn too much on their own, and because of it, they get confused and frustrated. And what happens? They give up Ifa entirely. So the best way to be able to maneuver those lines and, all of the things that you mentioned in your question is find good elders to be able to orient you, because Otura Rico, gets lost based on, their own frustration, not following proper, methods to be able to grow, because Otura Rico wants to learn Ifa, but they can't do it on their own. They need to study material that's provided to them so they're not wasting time.
Okay. I put a 5-minute thing up, so we got 5 minutes left for questions, okay?
Okay, awesome.
All right, so here we go.
All right, what do we have here? So much good stuff.
Let's go with Gitana. Can you? Oh wait, you read that already, right?
Hitana.
You read that, right?
No, we didn't touch on that one. My husband is Oguna Masa. I'm Iwori Wosa. any advice or things we should keep in mind to always stay in balance and firm, right? So, the guardian Orisha is going to influence a lot here, but ultimately, Iwori Wosa says there has to be a lot of transparency in the relationship as far as communication. And then Ogunda Masa is somebody that really doesn't like to be accountable, because in that sign it says, we know where we wake up, but we don't know where we fall asleep. And it refers to the vulture, right? So Ifa says in that Odu that, to be compatible, there has to be a lot of accountability. There has to be a lot of humility within the relationship and proper communication so that things can go strong. But I don't see why things can't work out based on the Odus.
All right, here we go. Looks like choose. We got this one.
Okay, one moment.
Or we got Gonzo.
Okay. Okay. What year? Okay. As far as I'll go with Gio. I'll just start going down the line. Gio Sanchez, my Odu is Eyobe. What advice can you give me? I'm going to give you the same advice that Miguel Febles gave to my elder, Godoveto Berosu. They used to say, Miguel, Eyobe, what do you have to say? And he'd say, organize yourself. The problem with Eyobe is too talented. He's the king of the religion. He's the first sign. He is the alpha, the dawn of creation, the Big Bang. Eyobe just needs to find themselves. They need to do a sincere introspection and see what their actual desires are, and then not allow other people to get in their way by way of opinions. Because Eyobe says the opinion that's the best is the one that allows you to rest. So Ifa says whatever your conscience allows is what you need to do. But ultimately, Eyobe speaks of moving forward within Ifa, and based on their conditions, they could reach Babalawo or Olorisha priesthood.
Okay, back to the questions here.
Okay. What year did you get your Hand of Ifa? Oh, wow. I received Hand of Ifa 5 years before I crowned in Orisha. Ochung made me wait 5 years. So apart from the other years beforehand when I didn't have anything. But I believe I received Hand of Ifa in the year 2010. I actually was a little wild. I made a promise that I wasn't going to cut my hair until I crowned Oshung, and I kept that promise. I remember when I got there, the Oriate was like, you guys got to pay me double because this is way too much work. So I crowned 5 years after that. So 4 to 5 years. So I think I did Orisha in 2014, which would make sense because I'm 8 years now. And then in 2015, I did Ifa, and I'm 7 years now in Ifa. So I received Hand of Ifa in 2010, right after I graduated high school and moved to Miami, and I met my godfather.
Here's a good one. So Andre 300 asked, did you and your wife meet while already in the religion?
Yeah, we did, man. It's a crazy story, and we're going to be coming out with our story. But my wife is a really incredible woman, and the way we kind of ended up together is really wild because I met my wife the first time at, a botanica. And my godparents owned a bakery like 2 or 3 doors down. So I was going through my year in white, I think, and I was really freco. Like I wasn't following all the rules sometimes. And I was up in the botanica as a yawo. I was reprimanded and, I stopped. But I met her there. And to be frank with you, we didn't really get along. Like when I shook my wife's hand the first time, I was like, man, that's a weak handshake. But she's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? So, we met there. And then when we really reconnected was her father, he was a 9/11 hero, Robert Montañez, Ifa Oma, Irete Gudang. They did his honras, if I recall, and they invited me. And obviously she was there, and then ironically my daughter was born on the same day he died. And it was really divine. But I really feel like my dead father-in-law, he put me with his daughter, and it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me. But we were definitely both in the religion. I don't remember if I met my wife as a yawo or as a bawalao because I was dressed in all white. So I don't really remember because I did Ifa right after finishing my year. But yeah, she was already crowned in Orisha. Like she's actually my elder in Orisha, right? But I did Ifa, so it is what it is. But yeah, we were already in the religion.
All right, this should be the last question. I'll let you take your pick here. Okay?
Oh, Lord.
Last question, guys.
Oh, gosh, here we go. Oh, so many good ones. Okay. Okay. All right, we'll go with Amal, right? I have an interesting question, Baba. From my research, they say that your Hand of Ifa is a temporary Odu that holds until you receive your Ifa initiation. Amal, thank you so much. Great topic to delve into. And to all of those that we weren't able to touch this time, please be sure to look out for the membership program and other lives that we're going to be doing so we can get to all this wonderful material because we got nothing but time. Amal, so when the man who's meant to receive Ifa, Babalawo, when he does his hand of Ifa and Odu is revealed, that's not who he really is. That is a lie. That is the lie that the Babalawo is living before doing Ifa, because Ifa says that we're living a false existence before we fulfill our destiny. So it's not necessarily that Odu changes, but your real Odu is revealed when you do Ifa. So from, like, for example, I'm Ida Tesuka. From the moment I was in my mother's womb, and I was conceived, I was Ida Tesuka. But when I received my hand of Ifa, I was Odiche. Odiche says you have to do Ifa to save your life, right? I dilly-dallied. You go through these motions where it's like, am I meant for it? Am I not? And even being from this culture, you can be very doubtful sometimes. And I ultimately took that step of faith and fulfilled, and things have gone pretty well. But if you're having these doubts, if you're feeling that there's something more and you have the capability to do it, you should do it, because it clarifies quite a bit when you go into the room. So yes, ultimately the sign changes sometimes, because I've heard of people pulling the same sign, but at that point, that's who you really are because you confirmed it. So yeah.
Wow. So I just got to say, we peaked at about 115.
Oh, that's awesome.
115.
It's been an hour already?
Yeah.
That's sick, man.
That
flew.
Yeah, we definitely need to do more of these because the questions are still flooding in.
I feel horrible. I wish we can get to all of them, but I got Big Feek back there. We gotta stimulate him. We gotta ask him some questions. You know what I'm saying? But I guess a couple thoughts before we ultimately disconnect, family. First and foremost, thank you so much. Membership program coming out with these lives to get exclusive content and access to all of us here. Be on the lookout for these live Q&As. Ochosi is coming out tomorrow with Miss Shadow of Wolves. Epic episode. I enjoyed it so much. Ogun is coming out soon. We're going to be recording it soon now. BotanicaCandlesandMore.com is up and running for consults, mentorship programs, products. Guys, be sure to comment on this video. Comment 1 if you're on and you want to see more of these. Be sure to like the video. And ultimately subscribe, right? Let your friends know about the channel. The podcast is on all major platforms. A big thank you from all of us here at Our Roots Podcast. And until next time, see the light.